Hello, and welcome to my second tutorial on Java. I'm uploading the first video right now to YouTube, so while that was doing that, I decided I'd start on the second tutorial. This time around we're going to learn about variables. It's pretty fundamental for every programming language, and it definitely makes things a lot easier. I started out with, I made the first general structure already before I started the tutorial. As before, we have public class variables lesson. That's what I named this file. And we have our public static void main again. Alright, so what are variables? Well, think of variables as a drinking glass. You can put lots of things into a drinking glass, right? You can have water, you can have juice, you can have milk, you can have soda, you can have all kinds of things. And you can store things, you can store drinks in a glass, and you can use them later. And you can pour things out and put new things in, if that makes any sense. Now, obviously, computer variables don't hold liquids, but they do hold data, and the analogy was the different types of data to the different types of liquids and stuff. And with Java, you have to specify what kind of data you want to put into a variable, or what kind of drink you want to put into your glass before you use it. And there's several different kinds. There's int, that's an integer, whole numbers from 0 on up, and 0, it can, integers can go negative too. There's double, which is decimals. Same thing as, it's just numbers, but you can use decimals as well. There's string, which is a word or a phrase, and those are put in quotes, like hey there. All strings have to be put into quotes, but they can be used for later. We have char, which is short for character, which is just one single character put in single quotes, or b, or whatever you want, really. And then here's something that might not be so obvious. It's something called a boolean, which is true or false. You can use that to test certain things. And there's other things that are pretty useless that I don't see myself ever needing a use for. There's things like float, or short, or long, or byte, but really they're not even necessary. You can be fine if you just use ints and doubles with numbers. But that's pretty much it. So for an example on why these things are useful, we're going to make an integer variable, and we're going to call it first number, and we're going to have it equal 5. And we're just saying that this box, this glass, is going to have this element in it, which would be 5, which is a number. Since our numbers is an integer, this will fit. And after every single line that doesn't have braces and stuff like this, every statement that you make needs a semicolon at the end. So we're going to make an integer, and this integer is going to contain 5. And then I suppose we can also put a word, like equals Jimmy. Okay, and just to keep it simple, if you remember last tutorial, to print something to the screen, system.out.print, and then you have parentheses. I don't know if you noticed, but when you're setting variables and things equal to something, use equal signs. But if you're doing a command, like we want to tell the system to print something to the screen, we need to tell it not with equal signs, but with parentheses. And I'll get into that in later tutorials. But instead of putting in quotes, instead of like putting Jimmy, instead of putting Jimmy in the quotes like that directly, what would happen if we just put word? We're gonna compile it for errors and makes a class file. Now let's see what happens when we run it. See, if you see it put Jimmy in place of word, well, that's because earlier in the program we used the phrase word to be set as Jimmy. So now, every time we use this phrase, we use word, it's going to replace word with Jimmy, because that could be helpful. Now, if you wanted to change something in the middle of the program, like if you wanted to do word equals Fred, and then you want to print something else after that, we could just use word again. And again, you put these in parentheses. So, if you look, this print thing has word, but so does this one. But if we recheck for errors and run it, it's going to say Jimmy, and then afterwards it said Fred, even though we put word in for both of them. Well, it's because after we printed Jimmy, we changed word to Fred. And then after we changed it to Fred, we wanted to print out word again. And the same thing goes for numbers. If we wanted to change this, let's say if we wanted to do, I don't know, what if we wanted to do int math equals 2 plus first number. Now, that would come out as 7, because first number is 5, and if we add 5 to 2, then we get 7. Now, these are useful because, like, if you wanted to change your mind in the middle of a program, if you want to keep track of something that you need to keep track of, then you can just put it in a variable and use it for later. I hope I'm making sense. Not really a good teacher, but I hope I am. But I hope that makes things clear a little bit. Again, post your comments and give me constructive criticism as to how I'm doing, and I'll keep making tutorials if you guys keep watching. Alright, thank you. Bye.